What's going on YouTube? Clover Bells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be spotlighting Dragonite once again, and for a good reason, right? Because Dragonite all of a sudden is not only like consistently performing at the top level in tournament play, but it's actually rising in usage, and it makes a lot of sense, based on the kind of move coverage it gets and the sheer bulk. Dragonite can take a lot of these hits and just deal like really big damage right back, and when you get access to a super good move like extreme speed, then you don't really care about speed control. You can just click this button, and base 134 damage just hurts a lot, right? But not only that, it's actually very splashable on a lot of these top teams. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna show you some of these teams where Dragonite has definitely excelled, and even in the OIC, right? Let's take a look at this. Okay, OIC. How many Dragonites were in Top Cut, right? So, of course, you had Dragonite on the winning team from Gavin Michaels, yes. Then you had Yuya Tada. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Remember, 3 Dragonites in the top 8. And then if you keep going down here, all right, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then, but dude, there were 7 Dragonites in the top 32. That's actually insane. This is not even a Paradox Pokemon. And we've seen Dragonite, 7 times. Almost as much as Roaring Moon, right? Roaring Moon was about 8 of them. Right, so Dragonite was, a pretty mainstay in terms of like tournament play, and just like if you go into like Pikalytics, right? This is another thing I also want to show you. 15% usage for Dragonite as of this this update, right? Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12 uses, technically 11 because I consider Dondozo Tatsugiri like the same, because I can't really see one being played over the other. So like you're almost in the top 10 in usage, right, from Pikalytics. Okay, and just like some of the move coverage it gets, extreme speed, of course, Terra Blast, Dragon Claw, Ice Spinner. These are like the 4 moves that you want if you were to do like some kind of Assault Vest set. Technically, Low Kick is also in there, but I also like this Stomping Tantrum tech. The ground coverage is really nice, especially against stuff like Iron Hands, the Steel stuff, the Arcanines. I really like Stomping Tantrum on Dragonite. Then here you have like some support moves like Tailwind, okay, which I really like, in place of like Talonflame with Great Tusk, if you had to do that, okay. Then even like Brick Break is a good coverage move just so that you can like destroy screens, but I think Low Kick is the more popular move at the moment, just because you can deal like big damage against some of these heavier targets. Some teammates that are really good with Dragonite, of course, the good stuff with Fluttermane and Iron Hands, and then even Goldango. Really good synergy with Goldango, just because Goldango being weak to fire types, being weak to ground types, Dragonite can just come in as a pivot and just take those hits relatively well. And even Dragonite's weakness, being weak to ice types, being weak to rock types, you can swap in your Goldango and then again resist those hits. So really good synergy between the two. So if you had to like pick some partners for Dragonite, definitely Goldango is one of them. And then even the good stuff with like Fluttermane, Iron Hands is also really nice. It's also on the back end of like Dondozo Tatsugiri teams, and we'll show you what some of those look like. And then even like Iron Bundle, Mungus, Volcarona. This is probably like a supporting core, like along with Fluttermane, Iron Hands. Makes a lot of sense. And of course, Gorganical stuff. So that's probably all with the balance of Fluttermane and Iron Hands. We have some squats to show you that can use Dragonite over there. But in terms of like items, so still like Choice Band is obviously a little bit more of a preferred choice, just because of the raw damage Dragonite can do, especially with like extreme speed. Then you have the bulky Assault Vest set, which is really good, because then you can just resist some super effective hits from something like a Fluttermane, some Rock Slide from like Tyranitar, that kind of thing. It just allows you to, well, that doesn't necessarily help against Tyranitar because it's a physical attack, but even like the Iron Bundle too, right? So Fluttermane and Iron Bundle are 2 things, where the Assault Vest can really help you there, and even like some Sylveon stuff, right? The Lumberry is also something that has started to rise a little bit, just because you can't burn or sleep Dragonite, which could really hinder it a lot. So I can definitely see this percentage increasing as the tours go on, right? But then in terms of like abilities, it's actually multi-scale over Inner Focus that is being used a little bit more. Just being able to take that super effective attack, survive it, and then potentially just deal damage right back is actually important. Inner Focus is also still really good, just because you can't get faked out, you can't get flinched, can't get intimidated from Arcanine switching, which is really important. So both are really, really good skills for Dragonite as of right now. Multiscale being a little bit more surprised, like this is the usage, right? 62. I would expect it, you know, up there with Inner Focus, but not like 62. That's insane. But I guess it makes a lot of sense, you know, based on, you know, what's running around. So you definitely want to be able to survive some of those things. Okay, then in terms of like EV spreads, you know, and if you take a look here, none of these Dragonites are jolly. None of them. They're all adamant nature, okay? And it makes a lot of sense because you want your Dragonite to do a lot of damage, okay? Now, Dragonite that does no damage is not very useful, okay? You know, I mean, you could say that for a lot of Pokemon, but, you know, what's also good to understand is these speed tiers, right? And eventually some of you newer players are going to get used to this, where, like, you're taking a look at these EV spreads. You don't know which one to use. Just look at the EV spreads, right? And you can kind of make out what some of these speed tiers are going to go for, you know, and if you don't know, then you can just plug it into Showdown and just take a look here. So one thing that to notice is that a lot of these are like either 52 or speed creeping each other with like 60. And the question is like, why are they doing that? So let's take a look at why. For example, over here, if I go to 52, this is 107. This will actually, under Tailwind, outspeed Dragon Ball, right? This is a magic number, and then if you want to speed creep them, you just go to 60, and then this will get you to 108. Sometimes you might even see 104, you know, 28 speed, because under Tailwind, this will outspeed the Iron Bundle anyway, because, you know, if you don't really care for Dragon Ball, which is not so relevant in the meta at the moment, then, you know, you can just, you know, forget about the 107 mark and just go for the 104 mark and just trying to outspeed the bundle. All right, so now what we're gonna do is, now that we've seen what Dragonite can do in terms of like partners and some skills and items, we're gonna take a look at some of the best teams that have used Dragonite thus far. All right, so let's take a look. Okay, so we've got a list of some of these, you know, top Dragonite teams, and again, you can see like different types of teams that you can really splash Dragonite on, and it can still do like relatively well. So let's look at the first one over here. This is of course Gavin Michaels' team. That, you know, just won the OIC, right, the Oceania International Championship. So basically it's a Pelipper Palafin team with, you know, the double core of Dragonite and Excalibur, right? So you know what Pelipper, Palafin, Amoonguss can do. You know, these three are a mainstay in the Rain core. Then you slap on the Iron Hands to help you out into the Iron Bundle matchup, because that's where that's where these three can really struggle. And especially you throw in Dragon here, and then that's like 4 Pokemon that can struggle against the bundle. So Iron Hands is almost a must. Then you have Excalibur over here, you know, paired with the Dragonite core over here. So basically, you know, you want to use Dragonite as like a pure cleaner, you know, just something that can just click E-Speed, click Terra Blast, click Ice Spinner, you know, you know, the Ice Spinner is really helpful just to remove the terrain. So something like into Indeedee Armor Rouge cores, you can just click Ice Spinner, and then, you know, you take away their expanding force damage or even their psychic stab move damage, which is really important in trying to like survive those hits. And remember, it's Slumberry Multiscale, so you're able to take one big attack and then lift the tail, and then just deal damage right back with something like Terra Blast, which is Terra Flying, or Ice Spinner, or Extreme Speed. Really, really good use of Dragonite here. It just comes in as a cleaner. You know, things after like Pelipper, Palafin, and Iron Hands have done most of the damage, or even Excalibur, and then Dragonite just clicks whatever it wants, and then just comes in and finishes the job, right? So we have seen Dragonite on Rain teams before, and now, no question about it, it's still very good with this type of team. So we've seen some of this in some of the other online tours. Not necessarily that it's the same EV spreads. You know, Gavin was more than kind enough to provide them, you know, because, you know, it was featured on Aaron Zhang's channel. But, you know, you will see the 6 heading into Knoxville, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if it were to top cut yet again. So this is one type of Dragonite team. So let's take a look at some of the others. So the other ones that you can see is some stuff with like Great Tusk and Talonflame. So you know, again, you know what you're gonna get with Talonflame and Great Tusk, and even Goldengo. You know, this is the hyper offensive core, you know, where you just click Tailwind, you click Earthquake, you deal a bunch of damage, and, you know, you kind of just chill from there. You know, and here the Great Tusk also runs Ice Spinner, but this Dragonite set with Choice Band, you know, it does not need to run Ice Spinner just because you have it over here, and you already have ice coverage already in Iron Bundle. But then here you have Earthquake, which can be beneficial in a way, because, you know, next to Talonflame, you can always just click Earthquake next to it. This is also still multi-scale, but with a Choice Band set, it's actually really, really nice. Brick Break, you know, just to break screens, of course, we mentioned that earlier. And then you have your Dragon Claw, Dragon Stab. You know, you can really OHKO those Roaring Moons if they're not going to respect you as a Dragonite player. Goldango here, you know what you can also do with Goldango instead of like Terra Steel? Make this Terra Flying. And then there's this another target where like Great Tusk can Earthquake next to, besides Talonflame, Dragonite as well, right? But and you know what you're gonna get with the Mungus Goldango, you just redirect stuff, and then you just set up your nasty plots. Again, you see the synergy with Dragonite and Goldango already, so nice to see it on a team like this. But there's other kinds of Great Tusk teams that you can see it on. Okay, here's another one. James Evans, right, from Oceania, and I believe he's using the squad for a while, right? He even used it in the other tournament. But basically, here's Great Tusk again, but no Talonflame here. He instead is able to use it along with Trick Room stuff, you know, just because Dragonite is like kind of slow, you know, just base 80, not like super slow, but not super fast. So Trick Room is effective there. And, you know, you can really flip those Tailwind teams upside your head. But again, you know, with the Great Tusk and the Iron Bundle, again, just able to provide speed control with Icy Wind, you know, and then just, you know, even click Trick Room because you have Sylveon, Tyranitar on your team that are also kind of slow. And then just like mid-speed tier mons like Dragonite and Great Tusk can also benefit from clicking Trick Room, right? But this is another kind of team where you can really see it. And the other interesting thing is, like, even though Multiscale here can get broken by Sand, I think it's still fine, just because of like the damage that you can do with this Dragonite. Like, look at this. This is also like a Dragon Dance set with Lumberry. So, you know, if you burn it, it's not going to work. If you sleep it, also not going to work for at least a turn. Dragon Dance, you can outspeed opposing Roaring Moons this way, and then just deal like super big damage right back. You know, especially with like Terra Flying, you know, you can just get rid of stuff like a Mungus. You can just get rid of stuff like Volcarona, for example, things that really don't want to be taking flying type attacks. And then of course, Fire Punch is a really cool tech. That's also really nice against like some of the steel stuff like Goldango and even like King Gambit, you know, because you don't really have like the fighting coverage over here. I think you only have it over here with the Great Tusk, but you need a little bit more than that. So nice little tech choice by James here with the Fire Punch. Makes a lot of sense. Then if we look at Colin's squad, you know, Battle Room, you know, same idea, same tournament. You know, this is with like the Mousehold stuff. Mousehold plus a lot of these teams are starting to rise. And again, if you're going to Knoxville, expect to see them. But here we go. With Colin, he has a Tailwind setter. Okay, so instead of, you know, using Talonflame, I like this a lot. You're going with Dragonite, you know, next to, he named it Bacon, next to Great Tusk, able to set up Tailwind. And unlike Talonflame, which doesn't put out that much pressure, you know, you have Dragonite, which puts on a lot of offensive pressure. So it makes a lot of sense here. And then with the sheer bulk of Friend Guard from, you know, Mousehold, you're able to take a lot of these hits relatively well, and, you know, just deal like, just keep spamming like extreme speed, you know. It doesn't really hurt you. And then along with Helping Hand, now Dragonite and along with the rest of the team are doing like extra damage. So this is a really cool concept to try and use Dragonite. But yeah, you again, just like 3 types of Great Tusk teams, whether they have Talonflame or not, are still like relatively successful. All right, so let's take a look at the next archetype. Okay, the next one is being able to be used alongside with Dondozo Tatsugiri. So again, the idea here with these two is, of course, we know what Dondozo Tatsugiri can do. And then Iron Moth, along with Fluttermane, again, another good pairing that has been seen in the back, or even straightforward on these Dondozo teams, where you're just able to click Acid Spray, you know, reduce special defenses, and then have Fluttermane and even your own Iron Moth just come in and just deal like super big damage. And then from here, you just have 2 fillers. Sometimes this is like Arcanine Dragonite, or something like, you know, a Steel type in Dragonite like King Gambit in the Brute Bonnet slot. But either way, it's like some filler, and then you can put Dragonite here. And then this is a Life Orb set Dragonite with Inner Focus, okay, with Extreme Speed, Break Break, and Ice Spinner. Those are like 3 relatively standard moves. But then Sleep Talk is the interesting one, you know, just in case I would imagine if it gets put to sleep by a Mungus, you know, then you can just have something to click, right? Which is very interesting in itself. But, you know, if you don't want this move, you can always just put something else in here, like maybe Protect, for example. But, you know, again, another type of team where you can use Dragonite. So it makes a lot of sense. You know, once Dondozo, Tatsugiri have done the job, then Dragonite and Fluttermane can, or even Iron Moth can just come in and finish the job, or vice versa, where like you can use Dragonite on lead, or even Iron Moth, Fluttermane on lead, and just deal a bunch of damage, weaken everything, make them use all their resources to stop these 4 Pokemon and then just bring in Dondozo / Tatsugiri and just finish the game in the back end. Right, makes a lot of sense. So now let's look at another Dragonite team. Okay, this one you can even see like Dragonite being used on the Trick Room stuff. We saw this from James's team where the Gothitelle also had Trick Room. But like here we go, Fluttermane, Iron Hands, Arcanine, Amoonguss. Again, the balance core that we saw like from Pikalytics, where you can really use Dragonite relatively well. But the idea here is again, you have the Perish Trap, where things can't really switch, and you're just taking like so much damage from extreme speed. And there's the ground tech that we were talking about. Stopping Tantrum, so this is a really good idea here, especially against the mirror matchup. With the Iron Hands, you're just able to deal big damage right back. But again, you have Trick Room here, you have Perish here. You're just able to switch things out. Arcanine Amoonguss is your defensive backbone to weaken the opponent, and of course you have Iron Hands that can do relatively well in Trick Room. And then the Swords Dance set is actually really cool. Of course, you just have Fake Out, Drain Punch, Fire Punch. No electric move here, so that's also very interesting. You're opting to go for Fire Punch rather than some electric coverage. Interesting choice there, but it makes sense here. But again, Ice Spinner, really good tech choice for Dragonite. Again, I can't stress that enough. It's actually very important. Good into Great Tusk, good at removing terrain, good into like flying types, especially like Roaring Moon, or even like these Tyrannitars that just want to go for like Terra Flying option. Ice Spinner can just really put pressure there. And you still have the ground tech against the other fire types, the other steel types. And then, we talked about Terra Blast stab damage and even extreme speed, just doing, priority damage that, where you don't even care about speed control. So this is a really cool team. I like this team a lot. I definitely want to make a rental out of it. It's super cool. And then if we just keep going on, you'll see like from here, just like other balanced Dragonite squads. So let's look at those real quick and get you guys out of here. So here's another one where like you have again Arcanine Amoonguss, Fluttermane Iron Bundle, again the good stuff core, and then slapped on with a King Gambit Steel type instead of Goldango, but still again makes a lot of sense. And then you have Dragonite with Multiscale, Lumberry with just like 4 moves here. Just makes a lot of sense. Again, it's another kind of balanced team. Dragon, Fairy Steel here. Look, let me even just rearrange it so this way we can see the cores. Dragon, Fairy Steel with like Dragonite, Fluttermane, King Gambit. Then you have the Fire, Water, Grass core with Arcanine, Amoonguss, and the Iron Bundle over here. Yeah, again, just like you're meant to deal big damage, just after things have cleaned up, with Fluttermane, Iron Bundle, Arcanine, Amoonguss core. Just again, your defensive backbone here. But this is another team where like Dragonite and or Roaring Moon can even fit into the slot. Even Garchomp can fit here and just like do relatively well. Like Garchomp makes a lot of sense here. And even Roaring Moon, just because like, again, ground coverage, with your Garchomp, you're able to deal like big damage. You're fast. If they want to intimidate you, you have King Gambit to help you out there. And then King Gambit becomes the big sweeper. So it's a really like, pick your dragon and then just add these 5, right? And these 5 include like 2 Paradox Pokemon. That's how you build a Paradox balance team. Okay, you just pick your defensive core with Arcanine Amoonguss, right? Add the Iron Bundle for your Fire, Water, Grass core. Pick a Fairy type, pick a Steel type. In other words, Fluttermane and King Gambit, and then just slap on Dragonite, Garchomp, or Roaring Moon, and it works. Okay, so that's another kind of balanced team. Okay, and then as we move down here, with Garganical. So another thing here, right? So you have Fluttermane, Iron Hands once again. This time, and here's the Iron Bundle for the 50th straight time, and now you have Garganical in the back end, just to be able to do big damage. And then over here, Gothitelle, of course, just being able to like trap things in, but notice that there's no Trick Room. And then here's the Dragonite here with Choice Band, Stomping Tantrum. Again, I really like that tech. 108 speed, 114 speeds here. Okay, very interesting speeds here, but makes a lot of sense. And then, just again, another type of Dragonite where you're just meant to do big damage, whether it's Choice Band, Lumberry, Assault Vest. I think these are 3 very good items depending on how you want to play it. But again, really solid, consistent Dragonite team where like you just have like good balance. So what have we seen? Okay, we've seen Palafin Pelipper teams, right? We've seen Great Tusk teams with Dragonite. We've seen Dondozo Tatsugiri with Dragonite. We've seen, Trick Room, Perish Trap stuff. Okay, and then the balance stuff with, the Fire, Water, Grass, Dragon, Fairy, Steel core. So 5 different types of archetypes where like Dragonite has done really well. And just take your pick. If you're a Dragonite fan, it's a good time to be a Dragonite fan because you really didn't expect it to be like within the top 10, and it's just so good, and it does so much into a lot of these teams, just because the sheer pressure of extreme speed. And then once Qianpao comes back, then you can start reducing defenses and start clicking E-speed every single time, start picking up KOs again, and Dragonite is going to shoot up to like 50% usage. So many are waiting that day, but until then, enjoy the ride, how Dragonite is doing in all these big tours, just because, it's so good. It's a favorite for a long time, and it's a good time to be a Dragonite fan again. So that's going to be it. Let me know what you think of Dragonite, in this meta, and if you've been trying Dragonite, let me know what kind of squad you've been using. But again, if you yourself want to build one of these teams or a Dragonite team with me, where I can show you how to do the EV spreads, and I can show you how to, build from scratch in terms of like using Dragonite, that's a tier 3 sub to the channel in the video description below, or also in the comment section, there's a link to join the channel and, sign up with that tier 3 sub. And then even in every video, there's a join button. So if you click that, you're able to, click the link and just join my channel, where you have that tier 3 subscription. And then once you do, then you're able to message me on Discord, and then we can start planning your one-on-one session where we can build you a Dragonite squad, or just a squad in general. If you're going to a regional like Knoxville, or just need a team for another tournament or another regional, or just for online ranked ladder play, again, we do coaching for that. We have almost like 70 tier subs on the channel, so we've been doing a lot of coaching throughout the last 2 months. So if this is something you're interested in, definitely consider it and book your session with me. But anyway, that's gonna be it for now, guys. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.